Okay, so you're gonna start?
I can start. Are we good to?
So we can.
Yeah.
Can we just go anytime? You're rolling.
Great.
Okay, so
Try not to be like a
I'm gonna.
hunchback.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you. So Charlotte, what is Job about?
Job is about a young woman named Jane. She's a younger millennial Gen Z woman who had a breakdown at work, and she's come to see this therapist, Lloyd, in order for him, that is you, in order for him to sign off on getting her back to work, back to her job. Hence the title, Job.
It's a cutting edge show. It started a couple of years ago. Off Broadway, moved to Broadway. It was a complete, honest to God success story, and because it's such an exciting show, and I think because it appeals to everyone, because it has both generations in it, and people of all ages will respond to it very differently, and so they should, and they will identify depending on their age with the different elements in the show accordingly. Right, because it really does cover the gamut.
Yeah, and it really is an intellectual sparring match of two different generations who are kind of missing each other, misunderstanding each other's experiences,
and learning from each other, and
actually being curious or not. But there's
and being defensive at their own in their own moments about it, and experiencing a very different generation and trying to get their heads around a different way of thinking, a different way of dealing with things, also dealing with their interpretations of the history of the last 20, 30, 40 years and what's happened and how they see it, the ones who've lived through it and the ones who haven't.
Tell me about your character.
My character is, his name
Lloyd.
Is Lloyd. Lloyd. Lloyd's of London. It's a bank.
Is it?
Yeah. So Lloyd, I think, is interesting because it's a very sort of sophisticated name. Yeah. Lloyd, right? It's not an unusual name. As opposite to Jane, which is, we think of Jane like plain Jane or whatever, it's that. So Lloyd is a therapist. Who's been a therapist for many, many years. He's at the top of his field. This play takes place in San Francisco. And I don't know why I'm telling you this, because you've been rehearsing with me. And he has a particular specialty that interests him, which is, again, a bit of a mystery that you find out during the course of the play, which intensifies the piece, intensifies the relationship between him and Jane.
The urgency.
And the urgency.
Yeah.
And probably the most extraordinary session he's ever had.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
40 years of therapy, of being a therapist. And Jane?
Jane. It's interesting. Yeah. Jane Doe. Jane is everyone. Jane is there's a generational experience of being a young woman being raised by the internet that I think is deeply entrenched in who she sees herself to be. Jane is very hardworking, very opinionated, really good at her job. And her job has become the most important part of who she sees herself to be, which is both familiar and terrifying. She is, I don't want to say quite funny, because if no one laughs, then I've said that. She's a younger millennial Gen Z person who has grown up with being completely accessible to people on the internet and accessing others on the internet. She works in tech, and so her whole life, her whole sphere of existence revolves around the world inside a device rather than the world outside of that.
And she works for a large internet.
Yeah, the largest
internet
tech company.
Tech company.
Yeah, and she's had a breakdown, a mental break. So she's also experiencing this kind of reality that is not reality, but is it reality? It's very complicated and very heavy and very scary for both of them. For me in my blossoming career, this is the first real part that there's something to chew on. It's meaty and dense and exciting, and there aren't actually a lot of roles for young women written in that way, where they are fully fleshed, complicated, convoluted, exciting, chaotic, messy people. We don't get that very often. There are a handful, but oftentimes they'll go to actors with more experience. And so it feels, I'm so grateful and humbled and about being in this role at this theater that I admire so much, working with an actor and a director whom I've admired from the time I was very, very small. It's very exciting. And also I'll say that the beauty about Max's writing is he's created this texture that is so familiar to my ear, to my tongue, because it is the way that my generation speaks. So we often find that, or I often find that characters that are written for my age bracket don't write us in a way that makes actual musical sense.
Mm-hmm. They don't feel real.
They don't feel real. They feel like a caricature of what a younger millennial Gen Z would sound like. And he's created this language that is so satisfying to say because it sits so comfortably in how I engage with my friends, my family. You know, there's a texture to it that's really, really exciting, and I'm so grateful to Max for creating her and creating this play that is so of my time and of this time. It's really exciting. Yeah.
Great.
But over to you.
Well, as an older actor,
No.
For me, what's very important is the company, the space, and the people. All three at Coal Mine are really extraordinary. Space is so exciting. It's so intimate. It's so much about what I love about the theater, the audience is right there. You're sharing something so intimately, intensely. Everyone is all in this production as well. There's kind of all around you. And so the space is exciting. The Coal Mine space is exciting. The Coal Mine people, Ted, Diana, the people who started this company, the history they have, I was so impressed. And I followed it, and I've seen shows here. And it's a great privilege to be asked to do one. So it's my first show at Coal Mine, my first time here. And I'm just thrilled, just over the moon.
Me too.
How do you feel you relate to Jane as an actor in terms of, her journey in the play and the journey of you as a young actor today in theater?
Yeah.
Or something around.
Yes, something around that general area. That's a complicated question because she's such a complicated person. Yeah. When I first read the script, I found myself going, I understand, even though we are different and she is going through something remarkable, I understand pieces of her that they sit very close to feelings inside of my own body, experiences that I feel. In terms of being an actor, a young female actor, someone who's at the very beginning of their career, and her experience of working in tech and being so devoted in this all-encompassing job, I understand what it feels like to feel like you are your job and that your validity as a person comes from the jobs you do or you get or don't get, how well you do at the singular part that you play. And I feel that I am more valid as a human if I get the part, do well at the part, get good criticism, whatever that is, that there is, being an actor, I'm not Charlotte and I'm an actor. I am Charlotte the actor, and there is a, and it's not healthy. And I think as I'm getting older, I'm discovering ways to separate my job and my personhood. But I do understand feeling like it's who I am, it's all I have, rather than it's just what I do.
Right.
Yeah, and that's complicated.
That's part of theater too.
And that's part of theater, yeah.
Not something you do, but something you are.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think Jane experiences a very real feeling of going, I am my job. It's not something I do, it's who I am.
It defines you.
Yeah. Thinking about the best piece of advice that you've been given as an actor, what is it? And also, how is that coming into the room with you during this process? If it is coming into the room with you, and I will use whatever you say and take it.
Well, the preface to it is there's no magical answer, but I did receive wonderful advice a few times when I was young that I've carried with me or remembered. One is difficult to figure out as a young actor, but it was from a wonderful Broadway director called Jose Quintero, who was, he had a chance of spending basically a very brief evening with him in New York, and he said, work with good people. And he said, if you work with good people, then everything, your imagination, your work will soar. So whatever that means for you. And the other great one is you are enough. You are enough. Keep telling yourself that as an actor, because the only person who can act all those roles is you. And so you have to have the sense that you don't need to be reaching for any impossible things. And also the sense that you have to do that will make it difficult for you. You'll feel tense. You are enough. You're enough. You're enough. You're enough. You can't say it enough times.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
And I think very hard for young people, particularly to...
That's right.
I mean, I think there are people of all ages that feel the lack of that understanding.
Yeah.
But it's hard as a young person because you feel that there's something to prove. And how do I prove something?
Yeah.
It's not by being me.
No, behind it is the idea that if you are interested in yourself, in what you are, that you're enough, then that interest will go into the work, and that interest will be shared with the audience. And that interest will be genuine because it's your interest, it's your passion, it's your curiosity, your concern. And that reads.
Yeah.
But if it comes down to, acting methods or acting books or all that, they're all very useful, but ultimately they won't answer performing or being a performer. They're just methods that are words on a page that you have to, again, process and make your own. So the place you start from always is, it's already there. You already have it. You don't have to find it. You don't have to get it. You don't have to buy it or own it. You have it already. Just learn how to use yourself in theater. And that's really exciting, because then you just learn what theater's about and how theater works and the techniques and all that, and you just all apply all that to yourself.
Yeah.
Which
Instead
is already
of
there.
Cram yourself into different shapes to be what you think they, and they capital T, they want.
Yeah.
But that's actually doing yourself the disservice, because all you have is you.
Is that, yeah. And you are the instruments, right? It's not even like you're a violinist or something. There's not, or a painter. There's no canvas, there's no violin. You are the instrument, and you are, right, the painter and the painting. You're everything.
Yeah.
So you have to jump in and trust that, So
it's good to hear.
It's not magic, but it's, I think, a step that's something, you can meditate or think on.
I think it's actually pretty magical. I do.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Come and see it.
Come and see it.